Welcome, Sojourners, to the Women's Leadership Mindset series presented by Teresa K. Page, LLC. My name is Teresa Page. I am your host and looking forward to spending these next few moments with all of you. We have a lot of work to get done on today, but first, allow me to invite you to connect with me by subscribing to my website and YouTube channel. Connect and follow me on LinkedIn, and always feel free to contact me directly via email at teresakpagellc@outlook.com. So what is our goal? Well, as an author, speaker, coach, and mentor, my mission is to help professional women renew their leadership mindset with fresh fire and purpose through the mediums of leadership development and coaching services. However, the Women's Leadership Mindset series is a new initiative intended to spotlight powerful women leaders and how they serve the world through their professions and purpose. So with the goal to help women realize their unfulfilled dreams and re-energize the leaders they always were. This platform is designed to enhance, empower, educate, equalize, and even emancipate, as our special guests share their entrepreneurial stories, provide valuable resources, and guidance in a caring, professional, and impactful manner. So, let's get down to business. Well, all right, in today's video, it is my pleasure to welcome to my virtual stage Latesha Smith, CEO and owner of Premier Tax and Business Solutions, located in Snellville, Georgia. After working as a chemist for 10 years, Latesha decided that entrepreneurship was the career change she wanted to make. Upon establishing a janitorial franchise and attaining her real estate and life insurance licenses, it took another 5 years before she finally decided it was time to pursue her true passion. Hired as a tax preparer at a franchise in 2010, she gained direct experience in helping individuals with their tax needs and learning how to apply tax strategies to their jobs and other businesses. Educating individuals on how to better apply tax strategies to lower tax liability and increase profitability in small businesses led her to finally pursue accounting. In May of 2012, Latesha founded Premier Tax and Business Solutions as CEO and has become a knowledgeable and savvy professional in tax and financial services, which allows her to work with diverse individuals and businesses in areas such as real estate, e-commerce, healthcare, transportation, and insurance, thus allowing her to support the actual needs of her clients. Latesha believes the key to a successful business is understanding how, why, and when to apply the basic financial strategies to improve the success and longevity of a company. So to contact Latesha, you can visit her on her website at www.premiertaxga.com. You may also email her at smith@premiertaxga.com, and you're also welcome to contact her via phone at 678-557-4457. Now we'll bring this information back along with Latesha's free gift before we go. But first, I just want to say welcome, Latesha. How are you?
Thank you so much, Miss Teresa. I am doing super fantastic. You know, I say anytime I have an opportunity to be above ground, that's a blessing in itself. So thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I just want to say happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. I trust that all is well and you're prepared for the big spread for tomorrow.
Thank you. All is well. I will say for me, I get to actually relax and not have to worry about all the cooking because other people will be doing that for me. So once again, I am truly, truly blessed.
Absolutely. Well, that's absolutely great. That's absolutely great. So I'm really excited about our conversation on today. We were able to connect as a result of the information that went out about being a part, a featured guest of my website or my podcast with Ace. And so I'm really excited about that and glad that we were able to make that connection together and have this one-on-one. So I'm really looking forward to our conversation on today. So we're going to go ahead and get down to business. So why don't we get started? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
That is a great question. Well, I will first start off by saying I feel since I've been in Georgia most of my adult life, and although I'm from South Carolina, I always tell people I am a Palmetto / Georgia peach for conversation purposes. So I do have a little bit of that Geechee in me. It does come out sometimes. But I'm also a Georgia peach since I've been here for over 20 years. I am a mother of 3 adult children, and I am also a new grandmother. My granddaughter was born. It'll be a week tomorrow, this past Thursday. So,
Congratulations.
so much. Thank you. Thank you. So, we're very excited to the new addition to our family. And yeah, so I've been in Georgia, like I said, since 94 actually, but I've been in the Atlanta area, in the Snellville area since 2000. So roughly about 24 years. So although, yes, from South Carolina and Georgia, I really do consider this as my home. This is where I have built my business. This is where I've actually raised my children. So Georgia is definitely home for me.
Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. I like the way you said it, that Palmetto, Georgia peach.
Yes, ma'am.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, again, I'm really excited about having our conversation on today. We learned so much about you as far as your organization and just via the bio. But I want you to kind of lay out a little bit more on the table for us. Tell us a little bit more about your organization, more of your services, what it would look like to work with you directly, and who are some of your preferred clients. So why don't you just take some time and lay all of that out for us?
Okay. So for me, entrepreneurship was actually not the main goal. Hence, me becoming a chemist, I thought I was going to be a pharmacist. And then as I got closer to graduating, I shifted that and just decided I will work into that field. So in corporate America, in my mind, as a newly graduate, 22-year-old college student, I thought I was going to climb the corporate ladder and, do all these amazing things. But unfortunately, I just did not have a really good experience. And so I was definitely searching, trying to figure out what is my next move? Where do I want to go? At the time when I actually stepped out, I was a new mother, young children, and still very definitely afraid of really stepping out in entrepreneurship. And to be honest with you, just because you really don't know what you don't know. And so unfortunately, you learn a lot. And I say unfortunately, but in most cases, more like fortunately, in terms of decisions that you make along the way. So once I got into the tax industry, working at a franchise, what I learned in most cases is that people become numbers and not actually people. And so the whole idea was let's get them in and get them out, get them in and get them out. And it never sat well with me because I am a person to where I feel like when you educate people and you have the conversations with them, definitely specific to their situations, it'll help them so that next year you're not having the same conversation. And so after working for that franchise for a couple of years, my decision was like, you know what, this is not what I want to do in terms of helping people in this setting. I do like what I'm doing, but I want to step out and be able to create what I want that to look like. Hence why I started my company. I actually, again, was not going to go into the accounting sector. But as you know, when you're sitting down with individuals and doing their taxes, you learn a lot about people's finances. You learn a lot about their mindset. You learn a lot about, their goals and their dreams. And so what ends up happening, you do more than just talk about the tax perspective. You talk about the life. What is it that they want to do short term? And oftentimes I had conversation with people who wanted to start businesses, but really just had no idea how to go about doing that. especially considering looking at their taxes at that moment, they actually either had a tax liability or they really weren't making a lot of money. So for them, they were afraid to even step out and start a business because they felt like they didn't have the funds to be able to do that. So after, having those many conversations, I decided that, you know what, let's do more of business consulting and business coaching, which then led to now they want to open a business and accounting and all those other areas that I work in. And so for me, my biggest approach is holistic. I am a firm believer that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so, and working with individuals and really understanding and diving deep into how they got to where they are financially, because you get the big picture looking at their taxes, you're able to help dispel all of those negativities that they may have learned or habits that they have grown along the way. And you really be able to put things in perspective so that they can actually follow their dreams. And so for me, that was an eye opener. Why? Because it started with myself. I didn't have a good mindset when it came to business and finances. I had no idea about what it took to really understand budgeting and what that looks like. I had no clue exactly what I needed to start my business. I just knew that I wanted to start a business, what I wanted to do, and that was it. So I used myself as an example to be able to put the pieces together to help my clients. For me, I always say I can work with everyone. However, it's all about meeting people where they are. So for me, an ideal client is someone who is ready, willing, and able to truly, truly be transparent when it comes to their finances. And what I mean by that is have those hard conversations and truly understand, you know what, I made good at doing here. I can create styles, I can put colors together, all those great things. But when it comes to financing and budgeting, I'm not good at that. I understand that. And now I'm ready for someone to help me get good at something that I am not good at. Those are the clients that I'm looking for people who now understand not only do I need the help, I want the help, but I am committed to doing the work to get the help for what I need.
Well, that's awesome, Latesha. Thank you so much for just laying all of this out for us. There was a few things that you said that really just sparked my interest, as far as uh, the way that you approach working with your clients. You mentioned that you don't know what you know, and oftentimes businesses are really kind of just geared about just getting people in, getting them out, making the sale, whether it's a good or a service. Um, but tell me, from an entrepreneur's perspective, why slowing down and taking the time to help educate your clients? Because you mentioned that you don't know what you know. So being able to um, educate your clients in a particular way so you don't have to have repeat conversations in the future. Um, Explain to us, especially for those who are in the entrepreneurial space, why it's important to really make room to educate those that you serve. Can you talk a little bit more about that, the importance behind taking time to educate our clients or prospective clients?
Yes, ma'am. So the way I look at it, for me, especially when you're an entrepreneur, it's not easy. There's a lot of moving parts to it. But more importantly, I take it a step further and say it's also about building generational wealth. For a lot of us, people that I've come in contact with, we're first generation entrepreneurs. So we are setting the blueprint for generations beyond us. So in order for us to really truly set the blueprint that is going to outlast us, when we are no longer here, you have to have a clear understanding of what that should look like to be able to put the pieces together. Because again, if you are first generation, that means that no one else came before you to show you. So now it is your responsibility as you are learning to show the generation after you and so forth and so forth. So for me, that is one of the main reasons why I am big about educating people in that aspect, excuse me, because it's not about us. It's also about who are we bringing up behind us, who we can actually be able to help so that the lessons we've had to learn, like I said earlier, the hard way by the experience, maybe we can help to alleviate some of those lessons. If we understand better, we can also be able to teach better.
Well, that's awesome. Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things that you shared, there was something else that you pointed out that the way that you provide the care that you need to provide for your clients, you are actually kind of first partaker of the global services that you provide for your clients. Talk to us about, and I believe that as entrepreneurs, if we're offering a good and a service, that we ourselves should have been first partakers of that particular idea so that we are able to demonstrate that what we're trying to sell or what we're offering, at least to our target market, that it does work and that we have had to have some kind of proof that it worked as well. So can you talk to us a little bit more why it's important for entrepreneurs to be the very first partakers of their, whether it's a good or a service? Why is that so important, especially as we approach to work with either our existing clients or prospective clients?
For me, it's a trust factor. As a trust factor, it's an integrity, factor, you know, especially in my field where we are, privy to a lot of information from our clients that is very personal, very deep. And you really, really have to make sure that as you're working with clients that they actually trust you. And so when you can confidently say one of two things, and I say this often, I never tell my clients to do something that I either one, haven't actually directly experienced myself, or two, know someone via a client that I have worked with in the past or present that have experienced it. So it also allows them to feel comfortable that, oh, well, she actually knows what she's talking about because either she's experienced it or she's been in direct contact with someone who has. We see a lot of times where, on different platforms, I will say that, or different conversations with other people where they share information. The problem is that most people don't really share you the whole picture. They share you bits and pieces enough to entice you. And for me, I always tell my clients, I don't want to be here for the short term. I want to be here for the long term. I want to be able to grow with you. And in order for us to do that, we have to establish this relationship and set ground rules from the beginning. So that starts with the trust.
Absolutely. I love the way you said that trust factor. And I know that you've heard it. Both of us have lived in that Georgia space for quite some time. And I know a lot of the mantras is, that people like to work with people that they know, they like, and they trust. And so I like the way that you laid that out about the trust factor. So thank you so much. Now, Latesha, can you share with us how do you connect with your clients? How do you acquire your clients? What is the best way for you to connect with prospective clients?
Honestly, I have been very blessed that a lot of clients I have gotten have been either clients I've retained from when I first started or referrals. I have gotten, there has never been a year in the 12 years I've actually had my company or the 14 years I've been in business that I have not gotten referrals from someone. So of course, that is the best way possible because you have someone who is actually speaking on your behalf, going back to that trust factor based off of their experience. I have gotten inquiries through my website where people would ask questions because they've done research through whether it's Google, whether it's looking at comments, even as far as Thumbtack. When I've shared my information through there, I've had people contact me based off my profile, but more importantly, not just a profile, the comments that people have left based off of the services. So it's really been, a testament of what I believe in. And I'm gonna be honest with you, although I said earlier, I can work with pretty much anyone, I am very particular with who I work with just because of the whole holistic experience and really, really want to make sure that we're transparent. I don't want to force anyone to be in a space that they're not ready for. And notice I said not ready on purpose because I truly believe that anyone who has a business, they want to truly be successful. They want to have the financial freedom and independence. It's just that when it comes to mindset, they're just in different places, so they may not be ready for what I am offering.
Absolutely. Thank you for kind of laying that out for us as far as how you are able to attract and to acquire consumers. So I have a two-part question leading into this. So let me see if I can ask this question correctly. First thing I want you to talk about is the fact that you have been blessed with referrals. So my first part of my question is, do you believe that with you finally stepping into that place of alignment as far as with your true passion of accounting, and especially having a background as being a chemist and having other entrepreneur endeavors, do you believe that being in this place of alignment is what has enabled things to flow towards you as it has so smoothly thus far, especially with referrals and all of that? So that's question number one. Do you believe alignment, you're aligning, finally aligning in accounting is enabling people to find you and that things are flowing your way smoothly like it should? So that's part one. And part two, can you talk to us about client readiness? Um, because oftentimes as entrepreneurs, we feel like, let me just get a customer just for the sake of getting a customer. But we do need to I do believe we need to slow down and take some time to really understand what does it look like when a client is ready to work with us. So can you talk to those two things? Number one, do you feel that alignment has enabled referrals to find you so quickly, finally aligning with your purpose? And number two, how important for entrepreneurs is slowing down and making sure that clients are actually ready to work with us?
Those are two very great questions because they definitely are in alignment with each other. You really need one to do the other. So I love the way that you segue that and put those two together. So I will say for me, absolutely. The whole reason why it took me a while in terms of becoming an entrepreneur is because in the beginning, like I said before, I thought I was going to be a pharmacist, and then I transferred over to being a chemist and being in corporate America. So in my mind, entrepreneurship was not there. However, looking back, I've always had that entrepreneurship spirit in me. It was just suppressed because in the beginning, starting off very young, I thought that the direction I needed to take was working in corporate America. A lot of that stemmed from how I was raised. My parents always instilling to go to school, get a good job, et cetera, et cetera. So it wasn't become an entrepreneur. So that was one thing. But as life happened and I was able to experience different businesses, so to speak, it really did light a fire into me to know that I like the education piece. I like the conversation. I like being able to talk to people. I just didn't know exactly which area I would be best served with that. And it wasn't until I started doing taxes and actually sitting down and looking at people's finances and I was like, wow, this person is me. I am this person. How did we get here? You know, yes, they're educated. Yes, they have degrees, and even some businesses that have created and made a lot of money. So the quick thing you would think, well, shouldn't they know this? But the response is not if they weren't taught, not if their relationship with money is totally out of this world in terms of really understanding what that looks like because no one ever sat down with them and talked to them about it. And so one of my mantras has been since I really realized that it's not about how much money you make, it's about how much you keep. And you have to have these conversations for people to understand that. And so then that's the one part. The other part is once you become an entrepreneur, yes, When you first start off, you'll work with anybody. You just don't really care because, again, going back to mindset, your whole thing is I have to make money to take care of my family. So whatever business comes along my way, I am going to take. But when you really understand the whole business about making sure your money works for you, now you can be very particular on, okay, well, what does that look like in terms of the type of clientele? Because now it's not just about making a lot of money, it's also about the quality of time. So if you say you want to make $100,000 a year and all you're doing is taxes, which is not a bad thing, now the question becomes, well, how many tax returns with how many type of clients do I need to work through to make $100,000? That's totally different when you say, okay, well, if I work with someone that's paying me $100, that's hundreds of clients, as opposed to working with someone who's paying me $500. That lowers that tremendously. But again, you have to get great at understanding the mindset about how money works, what works for your situation, to be able to now focus on what that ideal client looks like and now how to go about getting that client so you're working smarter and not harder.
Absolutely. I love that about working smarter and not harder. Now, Latesha, you're talking real good right here, and I want you to kind of maybe talk a little bit more about this vein, especially for mainly for entrepreneurs from an entrepreneurial point of view, how money works. You just talked about that. I know without going into too much detail, from a high level point of view, how can you educate us entrepreneurs as far as what we need to look at or what we need to grasp as far as how money works? And you've already kind of gave us a little bit of that, what that breakdown is. But from a high level, if you were to give entrepreneurs a tip, what would you say to us to help us to understand how money works so that we're able to really grasp the idea of quality of time early on in the career entrepreneurial space? So can you give us some high level tips as far as for entrepreneurs how money works so that will help us with learning how to attain clients or the kind of clients we want to work with?
Well, the first thing is that you as the entrepreneur, you need to have an understanding of what your goals are for your business. So brand new, 10 years, it doesn't really matter. And we're looking from year to date, so from January to December, right? I tell clients all the time. So we're in 2024, right? 2023 is when you should have been setting goals for 2024. So the last quarter of the previous year is where you should be doing goal setting. In that goal setting, you should be talking about where do I see my business by the end of the next year. In that goal setting, also, now that we're in the last quarter, am I close to meeting the goals for the end of this year? Because if you're not, you need to understand why you haven't, what do you need to be doing differently? Because that is also now should be part of the goal setting moving forward for the following year. Now, even going back before that, one of the things that I see that entrepreneurs make a mistake with is trying to do the accounting and the bookkeeping and the taxes and everything else themselves. Because they feel like, well, I can do what this person does, or I can do it better, or more importantly, they say, I want to cut corners. And my thing is, I understand when to cut corners. However, that is not the area you want to cut corners in. The reason for that is, as an entrepreneur, you actually need about it could be 5 people, or it could be 1 person. You need someone who is an accountant. An accountant is someone that can work in a lot of different areas, but for the sake of this example, they're going to take your profit and loss statement and your balance sheets, and they're going to create that for you. Your bookkeeper is going to be the person that's going to, depending on what software they're using, if they're using software at all, they're going to take all of your bank statements and they're going to itemize your transactions so that the accountant can create this beautiful report for you to show your profitability for your business, your assets, your liabilities, right? And so then you have a tax preparer. They're going to take either whatever information you gave them from this profit and loss statement or this balance sheet, or if you don't have that, they should have some type of form you can complete to where they're going to complete your taxes. In that situation, the tax preparer's job is to either one of two things, either get you a refund or make sure your liability is as less as possible. Then you're going to have a tax planner. Now, a tax planner is someone that is actually going to look at all of your information, January, February, March, etc., either monthly or quarterly, and they're going to evaluate to see what your tax liability is looking like, and then determine what can we do either to minimize your tax liability or to be able to use different tactics to be able to, let's say we're going to depreciate some stuff, or we're going to now buy some office equipment or whatever that looks like, because we have a really influx of cash the second quarter. And then your business consultant is going to be the person that's going to help you put all of this together. Now, like I said, this can be one person or this can be 5 different people. But at the end of the day, if everybody is not having a conversation, they're doing their jobs individually, but they're not giving you the complete picture that you need as a business owner. So in other words, if at the end of the day, the person who is doing your books just gave you the itemize your reports and your accountant sent you over reports, that's great. But if you don't understand how to interpret said reports, all you have is a beautiful report. But if your consultant or, in some cases, your CFO says, you want to increase your business by 30%. Well, that means that we're going to need to get some capital. Well, how do we go about getting capital? Well, your tax preparer has no idea that you need capital, which means that they have to show that you have income to go and get capital. Their only job is to get your refund or to lower your tax liability. So they're going to write a lot of these things off to get you in that situation. So you see what happens when everybody's not communicating. They're not necessarily doing a bad job. They're only doing their job, which is not for the greater good of the business.
Right, right. Well, thank you so much for breaking that down for us. That's definitely an education for me. So I know it's going to be an education for other entrepreneurs as well. So thank you for giving us some insights about being able to understand how money works is by setting those goals and making sure you have the right individuals in place to help you be able to acquire all that you need from an accounting point of view and be able to interpret how to be able to move forward and to scale the organization. So thank you so much for giving us that insight. Now, Latesha, as you know, this is the Women's Leadership Mindset series, and I believe that every woman is a leader. I believe that each of us have a controlling influence, whether it's over a particular industry, a domain, a people, a cause, a territory, or even a region. So can you share with us what kind of leader would you say that you are?
I am, that's a very, very good question. And I say that because my leadership style changes based off of the situation. I am more of follow the leader from the perspective that I am going to be the example, which means I don't have a problem getting my hands dirty. I don't have a problem, answering phone calls, the things that we get away from as we get higher in our business. And for me, the whole purpose behind that is because I want you to understand and to know that I know where you are because I've been there. I've started there. At the same time, once my employees elevate to another level, I am hands off because I want you to be able to, I wouldn't necessarily say put your spin on it, but I want you to be able to create this, whatever this title looks like, that is personable to you, but still stay within the confines of what you actually have learned. So that's why I said for me, it definitely changes, but I definitely I'm going to lead by example.
I love that. I love that being ambidextrous that way, depending on how you have developed your team. And so it sounds like you're kind of a mix of the follow the leader as well as transformational by giving your team a little bit more autonomy. So thank you
Yes.
for giving us that, sharing that with us. And and also giving us entrepreneurs, maybe from the entrepreneurial point of view, understanding that it is giving us permission to have that, to be ambidextrous like that, depending upon what's going on at the present. So thank you for giving us some insight about that. Now, you spoke about generational wealth, especially for first generation entrepreneurs, the importance of creating either a model for future generations to be able to follow, or just establishing that the outline on how to move forward with generational wealth. So, speaking of that, how will future generations benefit from the work that you are doing today? Or how would you like future generations to benefit from the work that you are doing today?
The main thing I would like for them to take away is not just the information, but to utilize the information that they're given. You know, I how do I say this? So I'm sure you've heard this a lot, and I've heard a lot growing up. Knowledge is power, and I don't believe knowledge is power. I believe applied knowledge is power. You can have a million degrees, you can read a lot of different books, you can have several different businesses, but if you're not applying basic principles, then all you have is a lot of degrees and a lot of businesses. And the one thing that is consistent, no matter what, is your mindset and your understanding about money and finance. It doesn't matter if you are a multi-million-dollar company, if you don't understand the basic principles about money and finance, you set yourself up to where the generation stops with you because you don't have the basic understanding. So for me, I really want people to really get a thorough understanding of the basics when it comes to finance and money, and apply those principles so that it goes beyond them.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love the way you say that, and to kind of break it down a little bit further, being an educated fool, as some of the old people would say.
Man,
So there's definitely a difference in between knowing and doing. So applied knowledge is power. So thank you for so much for sharing that with us. Now, as you know, when we had this opportunity for our one-on-one, Latesha, I did introduce myself, and basically I shared that I am passionate about utilizing the effective power of love to help women to renew their leadership mindset with fresh fire and purpose. So I honestly believe that love is wonderful for all of our personal spaces, all of our lovey-dovey spaces, and all of that is great in that area. But I also believe that love is a game changer, and also gives us a competitive edge, even in our business, to help us to be innovative, to help us to be powerful in our leadership, as well as to be present for our stakeholders, and to also be knowledgeable, have some knowledge, applied knowledge, so that we understand our industry trends, as well as be benevolent in our community services. So understanding that love can be at the helm of our business models. How would you say that love has tangibly shaped you as the leader, whether you're follow the leader or giving your team the autonomy to lead after you have given them so much development? So for the leader that you are today, how has love tangibly shaped you?
Um, honestly, I'm going to go back to just some of my experiences from the perspective of having to shift from not having a good experience with corporate America and going into the entrepreneurship spirit, understanding that that experience wasn't actually a direct result of anything I did right or wrong. It was just the space I was in. So for me, the first thing I had to love was myself. I had to fall in love with who I am as a person and whose I am as a person. Because again, I said to you before, it's also a trust factor in our field. People can see that, they can sense it, and they can feel it. They are not being authentic. So it took me a while to really understand. And honestly, I'll be even more transparent. It's going through therapy, having a spiritual relationship, my intimate relationship one on one with God, and getting good at loving who I am as a mother, as a woman, as a Christian, as an entrepreneur, as a daughter, as a sister, all those things. And that I feel is what has transpired into my business and how I approach my clients. And I'm going to be honest, specifically women who look like me, just because we do a lot of times share some of the same stories. And so I feel like based off of that, a lot of people can see the genuineness in me because of the love that I have for myself transferring over to other individuals.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So thank you for being transparent with us, and expressing that. Now, can you tell us also how have you practically implemented the functionality of love into your business models or towards your team as well as your clients? So how do you practically implement the functionality of love, to your team and to your clients?
Well, I would say one of the things that I said before about having quality in terms of your time. So one of the things that I do with my employees is for those individuals that actually celebrates their birthday, I make sure to give them either that day off if they want it, or they get an extra pay for that day to show my appreciation. For my clients, especially my VIP clients, they get lots of trinkets. They get birthday cards, they get gift cards. They also, I usually do 1 to 2 events a year in the summer and during the holidays, just depends on what's going on, where I do a client appreciation. And usually it is like a barbecue catered style where I invite all of my clients to come. We play games, we have great food, we just have great fellowship and great conversation. So that's another thing that I do. And I've been doing that even when I actually had my business inside my home. So that just goes to show you. So I've been doing it for the last 12 years. So those are some of the things that I actually do for my clients and my employees.
Well, that's wonderful. That sounds absolutely fun. And so thank you for giving us some insight on that. Now, Latesha, as we prepare to start downshifting in our conversation, I want you to give us a little, you've been educating through this entire conversation on today, and I greatly appreciate it. But I want you to talk to those who are having a little trouble with making the decision to step into that dream career, that they desire to step into, or dream industry that they decide that they want to step into, or even start that business that they have always dreamed to start, but they haven't taken that leap, whether it's fear or circumstances or whatever. What tip, what encouragement, or what resource would you give to those who are still teetering on the fence? What encouragement, tip, or resource would you give them to finally make that leap?
Well, that's actually going to be a couple of different parts. The first thing, I would say to individuals that are going back and forth is, and I'm just going to be honest, is they need to really get into prayer and get clarity into, is this something I really want to do? Because there's a reason why something is holding them back, and get clarity for that. The second thing is, and I love this part, is whatever it is that you're doing, find someone, whether it's through an Eventbrite or through a meetup group, whatever it is, find something that is close to what you're wanting to do or is in attendance. Ask for help, ask for mentorship. I'm a firm believer that there are a lot of people out here that are willing to share information if you just simply ask. And there's a lot of resources out there for you to be able to go and search online. Now, while I say there's a lot of resources, let's be very careful with what we're researching. So I would definitely go that route as well. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but you just have to just take the leap. Just take the leap. You don't have to start big, because I think a lot of times too, in my opinion, a lot of people think they're thinking of the bigness of, oh my gosh, this is so huge. You don't have to quit your job tomorrow. You don't have to go into this full time. Start small, even if it's just working 1 day a week or working 2 days for a couple of hours. I promise you, it's not about the amount of time. It's just about the consistency and the effort that you put in. That 30 minutes to an hour will go a long way as opposed to you just not doing anything at all.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Thank you for giving us that insight. Now, staying in this same vein, what about for those who are already living the dream? They've already taken that leap, but they're at a place in their business where they're feeling a little bit frustrated, a little bit stuck. They feel like they maybe want to scale up and not necessarily not sure how to, or they may not have the access to capital, those kind of things. What tip, encouragement, or resource would you give to those who are already living the dream, but they feel a little bit frustrated or a little bit stuck? What would you give to them?
I will tell you the same thing I had to tell myself, go back to the basics. What happens is that when we start making a little bit of money, when we start having, and I would say, quote unquote, these guaranteed clients where we know like, okay, I'm not going to make less than this amount. We get comfortable and you get complacent. And so then what happens is that when you get comfortable, complacent, you're like, why am I not growing? Because you didn't go, you need to go back to the basics. When I say go back to the basics, number one, go back to whatever that thing was that you did to start to build the business. The first year, if you only made 10,000, the next year you made 30,000. What did you do different in the second year that you didn't do in the first year that increased your revenue by 20,000 and so forth and so forth? Go back to those basics. But more importantly than just going back to the basics, also go back to goal setting. What is ultimately what you're trying to do? Do you want to be in a position to where now you are managing the business, meaning you're not actually doing the day-to-day? You've built a team, so therefore a lot of things you don't have to do because you have people doing it for you. Or do you want to be in a position to where you can retire from it in the next 5, 10, 15 years? Because that's also going to be the driving force in terms of even in going back to the basics, what part of the basics that I need to really focus on to get me to what the plan and goal is at the end.
Absolutely. I love that, going back to the basics. Thank you for sharing that with us. Now, Latesha, you do have a free gift for us. You have a free 30-minute business consultation and a special promo code. So why don't you tell us what this experience, what this 30 minutes will be able to do for those who want to have this conversation with you?
For those individuals and what you talked about before, that is kind of, going back and forth. Do I want to start a business? Do I not want to start? Or I'm already in a business, but I'm frustrated. This 30-minute is going to give them another person, a third party person, to be able to bounce those ideas off or to be able to get clarity into the area that they're uncertain with. So they'll have the opportunity to have a conversation with me that we can actually dive deep and to be able to figure out what their next steps are.
Wonderful, wonderful. And you have a special promo code, which is Impact24. And we're going to make sure that we get this in the bio so that our listening audience, those that are ready, who take these moves, that they can access this 30-minute special business consultation with you. So thank you so much for providing this opportunity. Now, Latesha, it was such an honor to be able to spend some time with you. You have given us a lot to think about as far as how to, especially for those who are first generation entrepreneurs and those who are looking to build generational wealth. You have given us a wealth fund of information on today. And so what are the last words that you would like to leave us with at the end of our conversation?
I want to speak to everyone and let them know you are enough. Right where you are right now, no matter the situation that you're in, you are enough. The second thing is, not only are you enough, you have absolutely what it takes. A lot of times, again, we have this big picture that we need X amount of money to do whatever. We need this person to be able to help us do whatever. We need this big, beautiful building to do whatever. And I'm here to tell you, you do not. Start with where you are, with what you have, even if it's in small increments. And I promise you, you will see how successful and how quickly you will become successful just by the consistency of just doing that.
Absolutely. So thank you for those last words. You are enough, audience. Did you hear that? You are enough. You have what it takes. Start small and be consistent and start where you are. So Latesha, it was such an honor to be able to spend some time with you on today. It was such an honor to be able to have you. So, well, ladies, we want to say thank you for joining us. Remember to connect with Latesha and her free gift. So you can visit her on her website at www.premiertaxga.com. You may also connect with her via email at smith@premiertaxga.com. You may also contact her at 678-557-4457. Don't forget to take full advantage of her free gift, which is a 30-minute business consultation utilizing the promo code IMPACT24. So you can visit her website and send her a message and use this particular promo code to have this 30-minute business consultation. We will be sure to put this information in the bio so you can take full advantage of all of these wonderful opportunities. Now, do you have an important story to tell that would inspire others to step into their dream career or business? If so, I want you to check the bio to learn how to become one of my featured special guests. And also, I invite all of you to check out my new book, My Journey to Wholeness, Love the Success Factor. It is now available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And this book and its companion reference guide workbook is a tangible demonstration of how God's love develops women to lead, to create, and to generate wealth in the fullness of our equality, purpose, and business. So please check the bio to learn more. So we want to say thank you so much for joining in for another episode of the Women's Leadership Mindset series. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, here's to the journey, and let's move forward.